Hello everyone, welcome to the Exchange Mobility Workshop. My name is Alyssa Qualheim and I'm an Education Abroad Advisor in the International Center. I'm really excited to share this presentation with you, especially as you're getting started with the exchange process. And I always like to mention at this part of the presentation that I participated in an exchange program when I was in college. I didn't attend UT Dallas. I went to a university in my home state of Iowa. But while I was there, I was able to spend a semester at one of their partner schools in Wales, United Kingdom, called Swansea University. And it was such an amazing experience that I decided to make it into my career. And now I get to support students just like you and help them have experiences just like I had when I studied abroad. So let's go ahead and get started. The first thing I want to talk about is the purpose of exchange programs, or what an exchange program is. With exchange programs, UT Dallas has a direct relationship with a partner school abroad, and we send students to that school while they send their own students to study at UT Dallas. So it's a reciprocal relationship where we're both sending and receiving students. Now, there are many different reasons why students study abroad and why they want to participate in an exchange program. There are probably many different factors that you considered and that are motivating you to apply for an exchange program, but we typically see three main themes or three main purposes. The first one is academic enrichment. When you study abroad, you may be able to take classes that you can't take at UT Dallas. For example, when I studied abroad, my undergraduate major was in history, and I was able to take history courses at my host institution that weren't offered at my home university, like a History of Wales class, and I took a course focused on London within the context of the United Kingdom history as a whole. So that really enriched my academic experience. Even if you take courses that you could find at UT Dallas, the courses that you take abroad are going to be taught from a different perspective, which is really going to broaden your horizons. Many of our host institutions are on a different type of academic system than we're used to at UT Dallas. And so you might experience different teaching styles, different learning styles, which will allow you to see the topic from a brand new perspective. The second purpose is cultural exchange. When you study abroad, you're going to be immersing yourself in a new location, in a new culture, and you'll have opportunities to learn about that host culture in many different ways. At the same time, many of our partner institutions have exchange agreements with universities from all over the world. So you'll be studying along with exchange students from different countries and have the opportunity to learn about their cultures as well. We also hope that you take advantage of the opportunities to share what you've learned when you return from your exchange semester. There are many ways that you can bring those new perspectives into the classroom, to share your experiences with your friends and student organizations and the broader UT Dallas community. And that enriches the cultural experience on our campus as a whole. There's also a third dimension that I call a diplomatic relationship. So when we select our nominees, we are essentially selecting who will represent UT Dallas at those host institutions. And we strive to keep our relationships with our host institutions very positive. So in that sense, we ask that you really think about how your behavior reflects back on UT Dallas as a representative of our community. So hopefully you've been able to look at the Comets Abroad portal and see the exchange options that are available, but this is a list of the countries where we currently have active exchange partners. We are always trying to identify new partners and always trying to sign new agreements so that this list might change within the next few months or years as we sign new agreements. But as you can see, we already have many different locations where students can study abroad on exchange. One of our most recent additions was Morocco. We signed an addendum to an agreement with a current partner in France that allows us to send students to their campus in Morocco. And that's really exciting because that's actually the first exchange location for us in Africa. So we're trying to expand the opportunities available to students, but as you can see, we currently have quite a range of places where you can study abroad on exchange. So let's talk briefly about eligibility. In order to be eligible for an exchange program, you need to have completed at least 2 full-time semesters before your planned exchange semester. Full-time means 12 credits per semester for undergraduate students and 9 credits per semester for graduate students. So at the time of the application deadline, we will check to make sure that you've completed or will have completed those credit hour requirements either at UT Dallas or a combination of at UT Dallas and at another college or university. We also check for a minimum GPA. That GPA for exchange programs is 3.0. So at the time of the application deadline, you need to have a 3.0 GPA at UT Dallas. Our Comments Abroad portal is actually linked with Galaxy, so we do see the most updated GPA after grades are posted each semester. So we'll have your most recent GPA to review at the time of the application deadline. JSOM students, so students whose major falls within the School of Management, you do have an extra requirement that you need to complete in order to meet eligibility. And that's completing the JSOM approval and scholarship form in the Comments Abroad portal. It should automatically be an item in your application checklist, but the system does take about 24 to 48 hours to pull in everybody's major. So once it pulls in your major and identifies you as a JSOM student, you should see this extra form. If you've started an application and you've waited a couple days and you still don't see the form, please contact me so I can troubleshoot and see where the issue might be. Now, I work for the university's overall study abroad department, but JSOM has a departmental study abroad office. They're located in JSOM 11.105C, which is right behind the undergraduate lounge. And they're able to answer your questions about studying abroad as a JSOM student specifically, or if you want more major-related advice about program options and courses that might be available. They also offer info sessions pretty regularly, so if you're interested in a group advising session, make sure to contact them at jsomabroad@utdallas.edu to see when their next info session might be. So what does the exchange process look like? Well, when you start an application for an exchange program and you click apply on any of our exchange brochures, you're actually starting a generic exchange application. And you have to complete that application checklist by the deadline. But don't worry, we're still able to see which programs you're interested in, even if your application is that generic application, because within the form you tell us up to 3 exchange programs that you're considering, in order of your preference. So you can tell us your first choice program, your second choice program, and your third choice program. You must also attend an exchange workshop, so congratulations, you're on your way to getting that requirement complete. And then after the deadline, we start reviewing applications. Now, we don't review applications as they're submitted, so there's no incentive for trying to finish earlier than anybody else. As long as you complete the application checklist by that deadline, we will review your application after that deadline has passed, along with everybody else's complete application. The application review period takes about 3 to 4 weeks. This is when we're reading essays, we're looking at your academic advisor recommendation, and we're placing students at specific exchange programs based on their academic goals, based on the courses that they're looking for, and so on. After that 3 to 4 weeks, we email each student to let them know which program they've been chosen for. And they're given the opportunity to accept that nomination or decline that nomination. Once we have everybody's responses, we start nominating students to the host universities. Now, I mentioned exchange agreements earlier, but I want to bring that idea up again here because our exchange agreements are signed at two different levels. Some of our exchange programs have an agreement that's university-wide, which means UT Dallas has signed that agreement with an entire university abroad. And students of any major can participate, either at UT Dallas or from that host institution. We also have some exchange agreements that were written at the departmental level. So those agreements were written between a specific school at UT Dallas and an equivalent school abroad. So, for example, many of those right now have been written by JSOM. So JSOM has an agreement with a business school abroad. And we've tried to indicate which exchange programs are department level based on the name. So you'll see if it's department level if it has JSOM in parentheses or EPS in parentheses. If it doesn't have anything in parentheses, then it's a university-wide agreement. So I am the one in education abroad who nominates students to those specific universities for university-wide programs. And the JSOM Study Abroad office nominates students to those JSOM level exchanges. And then the host institution reviews that nomination. That typically includes your name, your email address, your major, your GPA, and a copy of your unofficial transcript. So if you've started an application, this should look a little bit familiar to you. This is what the online application checklist looks like. And you'll see boxes beside each of the requirements. Those all need to have a check mark before the application deadline passes. So the requirements are divided into different sections based on what you need to do with that particular item. Application questionnaires are online forms that you need to complete. Material submissions are things that you need to do, like attending a workshop. Signature documents are forms that you need to read and digitally sign. Recommendations are forms that you need to have somebody else fill out on your behalf, and we'll talk about the academic advisor recommendation in a couple of slides. Resources are essentially reading materials that you need to look through and just mark that you've read it and you understand it. And assessments are quizzes. So in order to get your exchange workshop material item marked off as complete, you need to watch this webinar and take that assessment, take that exchange workshop quiz. After you complete both of those steps, we will mark your exchange workshop requirement as complete. So let's look at a couple of these requirements in more detail.